Welcome us to another episode of my podcast that's fine with me. Today we're going to be talking about leaked labs and the founders of this leaked labs. I don't know, is it a group or it's going to be just a brand that's called Leaked Labs? These are Alexis and Christina. Both of them are the founders, and if I'm mistaken, it's a self-funded business. They actually have pretty huge following in TikTok, and it's over 1.8 million followers, which is impressive. And I saw a couple of their videos. I'm not subscribed because I'm not always interested in this type of content, but I actually really like those videos because I saw how they were explaining certain formulas and pricing, the packaging. There's a lot of expertise coming from both of these girls, and that is the main reason why I would say you kind of trust their experience when it comes to makeup. And one of the most important, I guess, aspect when they started this new company and this Leaked Labs, and they talked about this in their commercial, is that this is a huge stagnation in beauty market right now. People are so tired of the constant launches, but the formulas are the same. And if you watched one of my videos, for example, when I compared Wet n Wild and Rare Beauty, I was impressed that a $30 foundation is almost the same as a $6 foundation. And I was almost sure that probably the formulas were created in the same lab. Not even the same lab, but maybe kind of like relatively similar labs. I don't know. That is the main reason why we can probably trust these girls, because they are coming from a background, very strong background, and especially their experience. Alexis was a product developer, and at the same time, she was a creative director sometimes, if I'm mistaken. It was from NARS company, MAC, Flower Beauty, as well as Shishido. I don't know how to pronounce it by. Let me know in the comments how is it actually pronounced if you want to. So let me get started with the brand, because when I heard about this new innovative idea, I had no idea what they were talking about and what they really meant, that they're going to release every single month a new product, but it's going to be out when it's out. So when they sell out this product and this formula, they're going to purchase another formula from other lab. This is a very interesting concept, but to understand this concept, you have to understand how companies they're operating with the labs. So the first one is a custom-made formula. The brand is coming to a lab and saying, okay, I really want to create my own formulation. I really want to make sure that I have an outstanding performance. That is the main reason why I just want to use your lab, and you're going to create and formulate this for me. It's going to be very expensive sometimes, and that is the main reason why most of them, they're going to own their intelligence property. This is a necessity because if you're formulating your own formula, then sometimes labs, they might, if it's super successful, they might sell it to someone else. And this is the main reason why these companies, they're doing intellectual property stuff, IP, to make sure that no one is going to earn money from them or without their permission. So we're going to talk about the second type of this kind of business. It's private labs or ready-made products. This is a standard, I guess, procedure for a lot of brands right now when they're saying, oh, we created this formula, we are so proud of this formula, and so on and so forth. Most of the time it's not true. It's simply not true, because they come to this lab and they're saying, okay, what type of formulas do you have? And they pick from already pre-made formulas. They are finding out about the pricing, and only then they're doing a purchase, or they're kind of like slapping their own name on the products and they're selling. This was very popular, especially I guess in 2020, 2021, maybe even 2022, when I was doing this type of podcast where it was specifically mentioning some incubators, and incubators are and were at least very popular among celebrities or influencers. So they were just going to these labs, going to these companies, and these companies, they were literally writing this new name on the product and packaging, and most of the time the same formula was just repackaged for different influencers and for different celebrities. Because if you have, for example, like 50 formulas, 50 brands, they can choose the same formula because it's cheap, or it's going to be really easy to brand, or it's easy to sell. That is the main reason why this is a standard practice. It's so much cheaper. And the final one is in-house labs. This is probably only for conglomerates, because only conglomerates, they have their own labs. These are L'Oreal, Estee Lauder, and so on and so forth, because they have the budget to finance labs to create their own formulas and then actually IP them to make sure that they own the formulation. And maybe that is the main reason why sometimes it's way more expensive than other companies and other brands. So this is a difference. And the Leaked Labs, it's very interesting. They're going in a little bit different path. So it's similar to this, let's say, private label or ready-made products, but what they're doing, they're going specifically to this labs, and they're ordering only formulas that were not purchased out. So the risky formula, or maybe super expensive formula, or maybe some brands, they're too slow to pick these formulas, and maybe certain brands, they're waiting for other companies to purchase risky formulas, and then they want other brands to test them out for them. And I would say this is a great and brilliant idea in some ways, because their first ever product is going to be leak 001, if I'm not mistaken, and it's going to be with some compact, if I'm not mistaken, that is a powder, and it's going to be activated with water. And as soon as it's activated, the pigment is well applied to your eyes, your cheeks, and your lips. But I don't really understand, is it going to be used multiple times or it's only for one use? I mean, like, how many discs do you get? And if you use this disc, can you go and wet it second time or third time, or it's just like for one time use? And that is interesting. Is it going to melt? Is it just, I mean, something similar was in the market, but not quite the same, I would say. And that is the main idea why I feel like it's going to be super beneficial to a lot of different companies and brands, because they are going to go and test this for other brands. Because if it's super successful, these brands, they're going to purchase this formulas if they feel like there's going to be a demand. At the same time, I guess there's like a huge but in my opinion, because they're going to go with this formula only for 1 month. Maybe not only 1 month, but as soon as it's out, it's out. You're not going to be able to repurchase this formula from this lab, because the concept is that they're going to work with different labs from even different countries, if I'm not mistaken. And that is the main reason why they're choosing, as they would say, the best formulas that are not on the market. But if I really like this formula, I'm not going to be able to repurchase that. And if I hate this formula, they're not going to struggle, but because it's going to be some formula that is not going to be in their list anymore. What is weird and I guess a little bit risky from my, I guess, point of view is the fact that there might be too many products that are not going to be successful, because you don't really know if it's risky. It's always a gamble, and every single month to have a gamble, that is pretty risky. But I guess they can overcompensate if it's very, very popular product and it's something that is not on the market. They can benefit from this really well, because it's going to become viral. People are going to be in a huge demand to purchase that. And probably they're going to have something similar in the future with other labs, but in a little bit different formulation. I would say that, in my opinion, it's really similar to James Charles' concept that he created a couple of years ago. And yeah, it's brilliant and ingenious because he involved a lot of people in his business saying, okay, let's create this formula together. Let me show you the samples. Let me show you the process behind the scenes. And I would say that they probably picked on this strategy, which is really smart. And in 2019, they started and founded their own company. It was called Fem Beauty, if I'm not mistaken, Fem Power Beauty. And they were going to a Good Morning America. They were very popular and successful. And then they filed for bankruptcy because the COVID-19 was very hard on them. A lot of the times people didn't use makeup. A lot of times people were not happy with influencers, especially happened with the drama in 2019 with James Charles and all this YouTube era. It was a huge flop. And because of the fact that they were self-funded, they filed bankruptcy. And if I'm not mistaken, they had to move back in with their parents because they had no money to finance their private life. So they didn't really have money to pay people, and they didn't have money to start over. And that when their TikTok hit off, and I believe they just earned a lot of money, and that is the reason why they're investing in this right now. The interesting version of it is that, do you really think we're going to be another influence brand? And it sounds bold. It sounds really cool in my opinion, but at the same time, you actually started another influencer brand in 2019. It was very similar, and that is the main reason why, I mean, you know that it's not going to work out, so there's another concept. I am impressed. I mean, this is definitely fresh, it's new, and I hope we're going to see a lot of different formulas that we're going to love in the future. And another really interesting point, like Merlin Steele, she relaunched her brand this year as well, and I would say that she is finally going from the previous concept with individual eyeshadow palettes, not even palettes but pans, and then she's going to eyeshadow palettes. I don't really know if this is going to be very successful in the long run, because I feel like at some point we have a lot of eyeshadow palettes, but this is a luxury brand right now. It's not affordable as it used to be, and that is the main reason why it might be absolutely different because of the formulation. So yeah, basically what we're going to see is a lab, not even lab, but a leak lab company that's going to buy constantly new formulas and new products that will hit the market and become viral, or not going to become viral. I think why is it so genius, literally genius, is that because people are going to be willing to purchase a new product every month because they know that if the previous month wasn't successful and it was a flop, then this month that's a new lab and that's a new formula. And maybe they're going to like it this time. But they actually have to be successful and viral at least maybe, in my opinion, 3 or 4 times a year. So people will still have some trust in them, because if they know that every single launch is going to be a flop, or every single launch is going to be something that is not even unique or stupid, that is the main reason why people are not going to buy this in the future. But I think that they have really good potential. And I'm interested to see what they're up to. And they have a documentary where they're going to be sharing their journey from the bankruptcy, from moving back with their parents, from their previous brand that was called Femme Power Beauty. And then they're going to dive deeper in telling people what to expect in this new leaked lab situation. So I'm actually really interested, guys. What do you think about this idea? I feel like that is really smart, and it's very interesting. I love the concept that they promise us that everything is going to be transparent. So from the labs they're working with, I would say that it's interesting because in some ways they're throwing these labs under the bus, or they're promoting these labs. Because if this launch is not successful, if people hate this, if people don't really like this or formulation, whatever, they would say, okay, this is, I don't know, this and that lab, so we don't really like it. And they were like, okay, we're not going to work with this lab anymore. We hear you. We know what you want. We're not going to do this anymore. So they're going to go to another lab and they're like, oh, that's a cool lab. And we really like the formulation. And they're like, yeah, we hear you. We're going to order some new formulas. I feel like this is going to give a very cool concept for labs as well. So it's going to stimulate different labs to create more innovative formulas. Because I think with these incubators that were really popular at a rise of 2021 or 2022, a lot of the times, some labs that were not even inspired to create some new products, because every single celebrity or every single influencer were interested in specific brand that already exists in the market because they know that it sells. And that is the main reason why it might be a little bit discouraging. And when labs are given an opportunity to formulate something different and innovative and experiment, and they're promised in some ways that certain products, they can go a little bit more extravagant or a little bit more expensive, but they're still going to buy out the formulation. That is, in my opinion, is going to bring a lot of success to this industry, especially when there's a huge stagnation in beauty industry. When we see like correctors over and over again in the same lipsticks, the same, I don't know what else. Do we have some cheek products, blush, clean girl aesthetics? And I feel like this is the best timing, and especially 2026, because 2026, as you know, is pronounced to be 2016. And 2016 was a rise of makeup and makeup concept and beauty influencers. That is the main reason why I would say with the clean girl aesthetics that was very popular like a year, maybe 2 years ago, maybe even 3 years ago, through this period of time of TikTok, I understand why brands that were scared to try out some new formulations, because they knew that people are interested only in blush, mascara, and probably a little bit of foundation and concealer, some powders. That was it. And now when people are finally ready to experiment, when they're feeling like it's time to be creative, that is the time when you can try to create something like this, and it's going to be very innovative. And I hope that this launch is going to be successful, especially when you self-fund yourself, you're not having partners, and when you're risking your reputation, your career at some point. But this is really exciting. That is a new way to sell something. So yeah, I'm interested. I'm very intrigued and I'm very interested. And best of luck. Best of luck. I love you all so much, guys. And I'll see you in my next podcast. Bye bye.